The year is 1991, and a film has been released that will change the course of science fiction action forever. It's the story of two mechanized men in pursuit of a child whose fate holds our future in the balance. And the success of this film will launch its odd-accented lead into global superstardom. Patrick, I know you're familiar with this film.
Yeah.
We're, of course, talking about Abraxas.
Guardian of the Universe.
That's right. Welcome.
They thought it was Terminator.
Did you guys think it was Terminator? No. I didn't. Actually, I hadn't even realized that was.
Oh, you didn't
some of
connect
those things are similar.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about more of that as we go on. Welcome to Trash or Trash, a movie appreciation podcast where we watch wonderfully trashy movies so you don't have to. I'm one of your beloved trash men, James.
And I'm your other beloved trashman, Patrick.
And today, what are we trashing, Patrick?
Abraxas, Guardian of the Universe. We already
That's
said
right,
it.
1991.
I'm coming back to rise again. I feel the things that beat the best of me. Nothing can slow me down or make me stop. There's nothing standing my way. I'm gonna rise to the top.
I got history with this movie.
Okay, good. I want to hear it.
I used to, and I'm in like high school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to Best Buy constantly buying DVDs.
Yeah, for sure.
And they had they had Kung Fu
Mm-hmm.
and sci-fi and horror. You could buy these like packs.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 5 to 20 movies
Mhm.
basically for usually cheaper than one regular movie. And it was all this.
It's garbage.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was it was the best. And Abraxas, Guardian of the Universe was on one of them. And I was like, well, Jesse's in this.
It's got to be good.
It's got to have, he chooses his projects very selectively.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I watched it and was like, what the fuck is this? and,
Yeah.
and now I bring it to you.
Thank you for sharing it with me.
Yeah.
For those unfamiliar, Abraxas is the story of two space cops / cyborgs battling for control of the anti-life equation,
Yeah.
which just so happens to be embedded in a 5-year-old boy who lives in a Canadian town
Oh, it's
that
New
the
York.
film pretends to
Yeah,
be pretends to be New York.
The aliens are also pretending to be aliens and are clearly Canadian.
Very much Canadian. Yeah, I have a little bit of information about that. It's written and directed and starring Damian Lee.
Wait, what?
We'll get to it.
Okay.
It's also starring Jesse the Body
Of
Ventura,
course,
of course, is the titular Abraxas.
Abraxas.
Which I thought that was just made up something.
The word?
The word Abraxas.
Oh, yeah, no.
It has history.
Yeah.
One of the longest
thousands of
Wikipedia
years.
pages
Yeah.
I've ever seen in my life. I was just trying to find the movie and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
There have been like over 100 things in popular culture called Abraxas.
Yes.
It's synonymous with like many powerful entities throughout history going back to the Greek ancient ages and such. So
Now, when you searched Culmator, did you find the same thing?
I did not actually.
okay.
It
right.
said, did you mean culminator?
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, stars Jesse the Body Ventura, Sven Ole Thorsen,
Yeah.
who is the less titular Secundus.
Which literally means second.
Yeah.
It's Latin for second, I think.
Yeah. Marjorie Bransfield,
Is that Sonia?
that's Sonia,
Okay.
and the one and only Jim Belushi.
Yeah, which you said you figured out.
I figured it out.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
we can get to that.
We'll get to that. So yeah, written and directed. Damian Lee, he's a Canadian filmmaker.
Really?
He had his hands in a lot of, let's say, B movies that almost all of them, I was going through the list, almost all of them featured two shirtless men fighting on the box art.
Of course they do.
I
Why
thought I
wouldn't-
saw the same one. But like,
different?
there's one called Thunderground, which I think
Ooh.
also has Jesse Ventura. And then there was another one, and I thought it was the same box art, but they're two different movies, clearly. But he also wrote National Lampoon's Last Resort, which I know has two of your favorite actors in it, Corey Feldman and Corey Haim.
The greats.
Yeah. Jesse Ventura means a lot to me, obviously, as a former professional wrestler. He's also an actor. You've seen him in Running Man and Predator and Abraxas.
Yep.
But you also have a different relationship with him as well.
He's my governor, my capitan, my dear leader. You know, yeah. Growing up, he was all over the place. He's governor of Minnesota.
Yeah.
And apparently they dragged him out recently. My friend was telling me because they legalized weed, and he came out. He's like, "This is a long time coming. Thank God we're finally here." Legalizing I'm off the grid. I no longer live here, but they bought me a ticket.
Yeah. He's probably in Florida somewhere.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna put you on the spot, but I know you do a very good Jesse Ventura.
I mean,
so
it had to come up eventually.
If it's appropriate for this, I would love to hear it as much as possible.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Sven Ole Thorsen is a Danish strongman. He's the co-star of this film. He's also been a frequent co-star of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I think they were like, we talked about this, but I think they were bodybuilding friends from like way back. They were just part of the like Venice Beach.
The era where big and strong was the only requirement.
Yeah, they were in that scene together, and good friends. So he would cast him in a lot of like side. He's in like The Running Man. I remember
he's in which is also with Jesse Ventura.
Yep.
I think he's in Predator. I think
Also with
he's
Jesse.
in Conan the Barbarian.
Was he in Conan?
Yeah,
Oh,
and then he was also, the best thing is he was also in Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Oh,
So it was a big year for him. 1991
Jesus.
was a big year for him.
Damn.
Yeah, like we said, this film was released, I believe, in March of 1991. In it, I did the thing again, which we're going to start noticing a lot, where it puts parentheses where, and it said Toronto.
Yeah.
Munchie was Tennessee specifically. This was Toronto, which is weird because one's a state and one's a city. So I don't know what it means.
James, to be eligible for an Oscar, you need a theatrical release.
But what does it mean? Like at this point, we were talking. One's a state and the other is a city. Wouldn't it be like Ontario?
I don't know.
Canada?
Also,
or something?
Does the are you eligible for the Oscars if your release is only in Canada?
If you're trying to win a Canadian Oscar, which I can only assume Damian Lee would consider his most prized possession.
Who cares?
But yeah, interesting fact. What was that? I think Terminator 2 Judgment Day was released in July, I believe.
I thought it was.
So
was this 91 really?
This, according to my very quick and dirty research, unless I missed a 0 for 1, this movie did come out before.
Oh my God!
Terminator 2 Judgment Day, making Terminator 2 Judgment Day the copy, even though it's very obvious Terminator 2 started filming long before this movie even existed.
It would be awesome if Terminator 2, the same way that the Terminator has to pay royalties to Harlan Ellison for those Outer Limits episodes.
Yeah.
If Terminator 2 had to pay royalties to Abraxas, Guardian of the Universe.
James Cameron is just pulling his hair out.
He's nuts.
Never again.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that this movie was going to be based on a book. Because it dumps so much lore on you right at the top.
It's, despite, I would say, pretty bad execution in almost everything, there's definitely like some thought went into this. There's weird made up words. They tried to do world building with as much as $10,000 or whatever can get you on a movie. Because it takes place in like 2 rooms.
2 rooms and one Canadian town.
But there's like anything sci-fi is one angle, 1 room, and a couple LEDs or whatever.
They allude to a much larger universe and planets, but you really only see basically one perspective, and there's only 2 characters. That
it's so dark they could be wearing anything. Like they didn't need any costumes or set. It is the whole movie is incredibly dark.
Yeah. Except when explosions are going off.
Yeah. Then you can see everything.
I looked up some trivia about this movie, and I just always take this as a grain of salt because it's really easy for people to just put trivia out there on IMDb and otherwhere. There's no way to verify any of this stuff.
Yes.
One of the things that I saw is that this film, Arnold was offered the role.
He was?
And turned it down.
No shit.
No citation.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know how anyone would know that.
Well, because we were saying that, and that we were like, that Sven Ole Thorsen is absolutely supposed to be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, or reversed.
Yeah, it could,
right? It could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty obvious that they were like, oh, here's a big muscle builder. We'll get another muscle guy or whatever. Completely unverified.
Yeah.
One thing that is pretty verified is that the version we saw is a for TV edited version to get a PG-13 rating, and the original version is an R version. We didn't have access to that.
Who does?
I don't know. It's apparently the theatrical version, which I can only assume would have been in some sort of Mississauga theater, a Mississauga multiplex, where you can eat you can sit down, you can eat Smarties and a tiny bite-sized coffee crisp. But the original version had a topless scene.
What?
Which I believe takes place at the strip club.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it was cut because we were talking about how that scene doesn't make any sense in the movie at all. We don't even know why. It was to add some titillation, but that got cut when they realized it was going to give them an R rating, and that's not.
So is that the only difference?
That's that I could find the only difference. And then the last bit of trivia that I could find that seemed at all interesting was that this movie may or may not be in the public domain.
What?
It's listed in several film archive places as being a public domain film, and I also think that's part of the reason it's featured on so many other podcasts better than ours.
Wait, is it?
More popular than ours.
Other people have watched this?
Yes, it's been on other things, yeah. So it's been discussed, and there's, even going back to like older internet, there's people who've done blog entries on this and like old bad movie
No
stuff.
idea anyone else had even seen this fucking movie.
Well, it's gotten around.
Okay.
But yeah, so part of the reason I think is because it's in the public domain, so
that
people
makes
can
sense.
show it and do whatever they want to, but it's unverified. And I don't know why that would happen. You'd have to like screw up some paperwork or something, right?
Yeah, probably. Or it's like some weird Canadian thing. Maybe they made it with Canadian money.
And like, Canada has to give it back.
But those like the old Cronenberg movies aren't public domain, I don't think. So and those are all.
Well, that's why I
Canadian
feel
money,
like that maybe if something, whoever's responsibility, whoever owns it technically,
just
has
like
to like re-sign something, or if they forgot to fill out something.
So the world of Abraxas is free to explore if you so choose.
That's a great point.
If we wanna like do if we wanna do a remake or something, down the line, we're free to do it, I guess.
Winds of change and a story of Abraxas or whatever.
You can play the grown-up Tommy.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
That's probably the right age range, right? Like he was like 5 in 91.
Well, hold on. They said he was 5. That was a weird thing with this whole movie. Maybe should we just
get in? Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to get into the breakdown of this film.
I'm gonna rise to the top.
Okay, we are back, and it's time to jump into this movie. Yeah, so you mentioned Tommy, who's the child.
Tommy is the child, which he is 5.
They say that 5 years have passed.
But he seems to be attending middle school.
But he's definitely in middle school.
And he looks like he's in middle school.
All the other kids are like 10.
Yeah,
8 to 10,
like his bully or whatever is,
So anyway, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. We don't know how old Tommy is. Maybe he ages faster than us.
Something like that. The mysteries of the Culmator, because it's never happened, as far as we can tell.
It's true.
Or they eliminated the threat via abortion.
We don't know what the anti-life equation could mean for a half-human child.
Yes.
We open on a writhing Jesse Ventura
very
shots,
close up.
Very close up, him being experimented on. We're introduced to the concept of a finder. This is his job.
He's getting some type of radiation treatment to make his bones strong and make him stronger, but it's very painful. They're giving him like the test from Blade Runner to keep him sharp while he's doing it. And a finder he describes it as a space cop essentially, but they don't, I think, really get into what their duties are beyond chasing down
other finders,
space cops.
That's all that. That's all that he does.
It starts with his voiceover, and I mean, one of my favorite things in the movie is the like, a finder's service is 100 years. This is my 90th service or whatever. That's right. I've been a cop for 9,000 years or whatever. It's a lot of voiceover in this movie, but it's very inconsistent and the narrator changes constantly.
changes constantly. It also comes in at very strange moments.
Yes.
There's a point where we're like, wait, is he telling this story?
Yeah. yeah. And
but-
the who?
But so, yeah, he's a space cop. He's a finder. We don't know what they do other than this one particular scenario where his ex-partner,
Yeah.
Secundus,
Secundus, who went rogue 1,000 years ago.
he's been rogue forever, basically.
But they know that he is going. It's these two alien guys.
Yeah, it's
all the aliens are just people, by the way. They
I
just
wrote
look
it-
like regular guys.
I wrote it in as Sweeney Todd and other guy.
yeah.
But the characters' names are Height,
Yep.
who was portrayed by Jerry Levitin,
Mm-hmm.
who has a big Wikipedia article because as a 14-year-old boy, he interviewed John Lennon
What the fuck?
and was the first person somehow he as a boy was the first person to interview John Lennon and Yoko Ono way back when.
What?
And now he's in this. That I just wanted to make sure we had that. The other character is Dar,
Yeah.
and that is our Oh Captain, My Captain. That is the writer and director of this film.
Oh, yes.
That is Damian Lee.
Okay, cool.
So go ahead.
Yeah, they are concerned because he has broken out. He's headed towards Earth, and
Mm-hmm.
if he impregnates a birthing
Fertile-
a birthing member of the race,
That's it, right?
he can someone with a womb.
Which is, inclusive.
Yeah, he can touch them and put a baby in them, and the baby will become the culmator, who has like an innate a pre.
I don't know what it's unclear.
He's
He's
a preternatural
superpower.
of the anti-life equation,
Yeah, because Secundus, we find out,
which is the force.
kind of. Yeah, things explode, but the main power is that he can make people pee their pants.
Yes, he can make anyone piss their pants.
But yeah, so I don't know if Secundus is significant. Could anyone do this?
I was confused by that too. And why does he have to go to Earth?
Why does he have to go
If
to
it's
Earth?
been 1,000 years, why hasn't he tried this before? Or no, maybe he's been in prison and just escaped. They burned through a lot of plot.
There's a lot.
in
And you get it
voiceover that
twice.
is-
You get it twice. You
At
get it
least,
once
at
in
least.
Abraxas's voiceover,
Yep.
but then you get it again with Sweeney Todd and the other guy having a conversation about it.
Yes.
But it's just
Well,
like people just throwing stuff at you.
And
trying to
sometimes a
follow.
third time you'll get it through Secundus's voiceover,
Right.
which is also in the movie.
Yes, that is true. Either way, Secundus is headed to Earth and is looking for something to put a baby into.
He finds it very fast.
It's very
Yeah.
quick. And so Abraxas is sent after Secundus.
through like warp tunnels,
Yeah, they go through warp
something,
tunnels.
which
and
they're very
show up.
clear. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
Sometimes it doesn't work. But before he can reach Secundus, there is someone driving on the road. Secundus stops the car, throws out the guy. Don't know who he is. We never see him again.
No, he's gone.
And then grabs the woman,
Mm-hmm.
takes her
Asks-
hostage,
Yeah.
asks her for if she's fertile. She's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Well, I
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then runs out into the woods with her, and then impregnates her
With a hand to the
with a
stomach.
gentle hand touch to the
A
belly.
glowing green
Yeah.
touch to the belly, and she's pregnant. Abraxas is tasked with killing her before the
Mhm.
culmator is born.
Yeah.
About 2 minutes later, the culmator is born.
It's
full-grown baby.
Very quick. It
Uh,
happens very quick.
And Abraxas can't bring himself to kill an innocent, even though it's dangerous. He says no innocent deserves to die, and they're like, "What?" But he's gonna kill millions of people, and he's
Yeah.
like, "It doesn't matter." Oh, I don't know.
It kind of matters.
Yeah, it seems. I don't know. But
There's a lot of moments in this where Abraxas kind of just does what he wants to,
mhm.
but then also follows orders.
Yeah.
But then just kind of does what he wants to.
Yeah,
So Secundus is captured.
yeah. They're
and he's
called
sent
back
to-
up.
They're called back,
Yeah.
and then they just leave this woman in the snow.
Yeah, she attempts to throw the baby in the river.
She thinks about it.
Can't bring
I
herself
made a
to
note
do
here.
it.
She
Yeah.
thinks about pulling a Batman Returns
Yeah,
and throws the baby in river, but she can't. 15 minutes as a mother was enough for her to be convinced that this is what she wanted.
Yeah.
She goes home to her parents' house with a baby.
presumably has only been gone for like an hour,
Not long.
maybe less.
Explains the situation to her parents, and they say, "Get out of our
Say,
house!
get the fuck out."
You hussy."
Yeah, the dad basically says not knowing who the father is worse than having a father who's not around, which those are two different things.
I don't think he understood the way she explained it. Maybe she
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
explain
yeah.
it well, but
And my concern, if I was that father, I would probably say, you were not pregnant when you left.
yep.
Whose baby do you have? Because
Where
you
did you find
kidnapped
it?
a baby.
Where did you
Yeah.
find it?
Yeah.
She does take the baby somewhere to try and get it named and registered
Yeah.
with the state of New York,
Yes.
quotation mark.
Yeah.
But even the registrar, like the clerk,
Mhm.
is like, "Where did you find this
They really
baby?"
do shame the single mother.
They
in this
shame her
movie.
big time, yeah. Either way, she decides to love the baby. She decides that this is exactly, and it looks like things are going to be okay. We go 5 years later.
Yeah, cut to 5 years later, her voiceover starts.
Yeah.
This is like 10 minutes into the movie. We've had 3 voiceovers from 3 different characters now.
Mhm.
Tommy's 5. He's never spoken a word. He doesn't cry,
Mhm.
but he's very intelligent.
And he looks way older than
he's
a
like
5-year-old would be.
10?
Looks pretty old, yeah.
Yeah.
But everything seems like it's fine. A
Mhm.
bad situation turned good.
Yeah.
Starting to wonder about the political intent of this film and
Okay.
its perspective on a woman's own dominion over herself.
Sure.
Starting to wondering about that. But there's no time to unpack it.
No.
Because Secundus
He's back.
escaped his prison.
Yep.
He escaped the penal colony, and he is after the kid that may have the anti-life equation buried deep inside of him.
Because if Secundus can pull the anti-life equation out of his head, he will become essentially God and be able to do anything.
Exactly.
Because he says it's not enough to be almost immortal. It's not enough to be very powerful.
Yeah.
I forget.
Basically, he can live forever. He can essentially, I guess, if you're not
Yeah.
chasing down another finder, you can kind of do whatever you want to.
Seems like
You
anything
can't
want.
bang.
Can't have.
So I get that.
Everyone in this movie is a virgin.
Everyone's a virgin.
Everyone in this that appears.
I mean,
Jim
everyone.
Belushi included. a virgin.
Jim Belushi, who is just about to show up.
At this point, yeah, you kind of realize like, oh, it's shitty Terminator.
It's shitty Terminator.
It's just bad Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't. I think he's getting I mean, I think we're at Jim Belushi now, right?
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
okay.
Basically, the only other thing is they call Abraxas and they just chide each other.
Yeah.
Height, Dar, and Abraxas just kind of pointing. They're like, "Well, if you
Yeah.
had killed the woman, we
Yeah.
wouldn't have to worry about him escaping prison." And he was like, "Well, you let him escape prison.
And why
Maybe
didn't you
you
just kill
shouldn't
him?"
have let him out of prison."
Yeah.
Or didn't he say you should have executed him?
Yeah, which is later made very clear that
That's
that's
not allowed.
illegal.
Yeah,
to
so
kill a finder. Yeah.
I don't know, but either way, no one's taking responsibility
No.
for this. I appreciate. At this point, I'm kind of Team Secundus because he's the only one who seems like he
Well,
has a goal and an
So it's
agenda.
actually really confusing up until like maybe this point or later up until the point where they explain he has to kill the kid or whatever to get this power, and then he's going to be like a whatever. It seems like he's actually the good guy, and I thought like, oh, Jesse's gonna turn to his side later on, and then
Yeah,
it's
he's
like,
fighting the power.
that's what it seemed like, and then no, it's
No.
not. That's not the
No,
situation.
he's the mean guy.
Yeah.
He's got a God complex.
Yep.
Speaking of God complex, Jim Belushi is the principal of Tommy's school.
Mm-hmm.
Called in, mother is called in to talk about things because he's getting bullied.
Yeah.
And there's been some incidents, and this kid won't talk. And apparently, Jim Belushi is married to the actress that plays Sonia.
Oh,
So there you go. He popped in for a day. He said, "I'll do it."
Because the whole scene is unnecessary.
It's unnecessary. It's almost played for laughs because at some point the mom
Yeah.
says, "Why don't you do something about the bullying?" And he goes, "Yeah, maybe I should." And it's like, wah, wah. That's
And
it.
it's like, what the fuck?
The whole score is fantastic, though. Lots
Oh.
of melancholy jazz.
Melancholy jazz in parentheses because we watched it subtitled. A lot of like wailing on a sax, but then also like guitar solos.
Yeah,
and-
pinch harmonics and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So we cut to the big chase scene.
Mhm.
Secundus teleports back to Earth through water, which is a new thing that's introduced.
Carbon-based H2O warps.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Abraxas right on his heels. The only problem is that those warps are volatile and sometimes you get transferred
Because
without your weapons.
He like they piggybacked their warps or something.
That's why, yeah.
And so they both arrive without weapons, and Secundus arrives, and his
Answer box.
answer box, which is a Apple Watch. His answer box is low on power, so he's gonna have to find like I forget what they call it. I didn't write it down, but so they have some dumb sci-fi term for recharging your
He
watch.
needs to recharge his watch, essentially.
Yeah.
So these are just two raw, powerful entities
Yeah.
facing off in the woods, which essentially means the two bulkiest men who've probably never run more than a quarter mile in their whole lives, having to do scene after scene,
Just like
just huffing and puffing in the
lumbering,
Canadian wilderness.
Yeah.
And it is a blast. I actually think that may be something we need to add to this because we feel like we're having a lot of chase scenes.
I know, yeah.
Jim Cotta was essentially one entire
Whole
chase
thing's a
scene.
chase scene.
I think it was great because remember
Yeah.
they launch off and that guy gets knocked over, that extra gets knocked over by a horse.
Yeah.
That's an exciting chase scene.
Yeah.
Then in Munchie, it opens with the car chase scene.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have the two bulky men in the woods chase scene.
It's one of the slowest chases of
pretty
it.
low.
It is, I mean, it's two bodybuilders
Mhm.
who are both at least, I mean, Sven or whatever is like 6'3". Jesse's
Yeah.
a tall guy.
Yeah.
I don't know that they've ever done an hour of any kind of cardio in their
Absolutely
entire
not.
life. Their lung capacity is terrible.
Explosive, not endurance, explosive.
Oh, okay.
That's
no endurance training.
mhm.
They are lumbering through the woods, like
Mhm.
just
Yeah,
breathing heavy and slow.
very slow. And I think Secundus knows this, so he has to find a vehicle, some sort of method of transportation. He
Yeah.
stumbles across a campsite.
Yep.
After a brief punch back and forth, we see Abraxas at his
Again,
best, which is
slow
mostly
punches.
losing fights.
Yeah.
And Secundus manages to get to a campsite where there's a goofy, one of those classic goofy 90s guys.
Yeah. He's got his fax machine with him.
Something
in the
like
camper.
that.
Yeah.
And gives up his keys. Secundus hits the bricks. Abraxas jumps on top of the car, but he's no match for it. And he's
He
left.
just whips him off.
He's left out in the dust. Secundus is headed into town, hot on the heels of finding Tommy. in
Yeah.
The anti-life equation.
So Abraxas like rolls into the same huffing and puff, just wheezing, rolls into the same campsite, manages to sweet talk him. He gets a ride. At some point, he tells them, "My box has VD."
He says, "I have VD," and they go, "What?"
Yeah, and it means what does it mean?
Something device.
VD?
It's
Yeah.
it's not what you want it to be. It's
Yeah, yeah,
again played for laughs.
yeah,
And then they call him out on his clothes.
yeah. They give him new clothes. They give him a World Gym, the classic World Gym
They do.
T-shirt, and
The barbell's
and a-
bending.
and a trench coat. I have no idea. Everyone in that camper is, I would say, closer to my build.
Mm-hmm.
And they have clothes to fit Jesse in the.
Yeah.
I don't know whose clothes they are, but yeah. He also, at this point, I noticed he has the braided rat tail.
Yeah.
Jesse.
We didn't see it at first.
No, yeah, and it's very jarring when you actually see the little nasty
disgusting.
braids
It's
sticking out
disgusting.
the back of his head.
And when you find out he's never been with a woman, you're like, I wonder why.
Makes
as
sense.
You roll your eyes.
Makes sense.
Secundus, meanwhile, stops at a mechanic's shop
Mm-hmm.
and
Breaks a bunch of Pepsi bottles.
just destroys Pepsi. And we go, that's
Yeah.
a lot of Pepsi.
Mm-hmm.
There's
It's a lot more coming.
more Pepsi
Yeah.
coming. Destroys Pepsi, uses a battery to charge his watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy there who works there goes, "What are you doing?" And then he checks him for the anti-life
Yes.
equation, even though he knows he doesn't have it.
He scans him for the anti-life equation, which makes him get covered in lightning and then disappear.
Yeah,
I think
discorporates.
discorporate.
Yeah.
There's like a green screen like key explosion
It's strange. Yeah, it's weird.
that's just there and
Yeah.
then fades out, or it doesn't even fade out. I think it cuts to something else and then cuts back and he's missing. That also might be the end of the movie that I'm thinking of. But
Well, there's that too, but all of the explosions look like the Spider-Man movie maker when you just lay
Yeah, no,
an
it's-
explosion on top of something.
it is all green screen.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that you don't discorporate with your clothes on. So now
steals his clothes.
Secundus he can blend in because the
Yep.
guy was real big.
He was tall. He was not nearly as big as Secundus, but hey,
They
it's
made
fine.
it work.
It's
They
fine.
made it work.
It's fine.
So right now we got 2 space cops, 1 rogue in the middle of this Canadian town that's set in New York. and Sonia doesn't even know that she and her child are in danger.
She's got no clue.
But she luckily has a guardian angel in the form of Abraxas, and we're going to talk about what happens next right after this.
So Sonia's working at like a health food store, which I didn't really know.
She's doing like wheatgrass shots and organic apples.
Yeah,
and
she
all
has an
kinds of
organic
stuff.
apple guy.
Yeah.
Who's like important later in the movie. I did not realize that was like a thing
I had
in
no
the
idea.
90s. Maybe there's an environmental message in here
She
somewhere.
might have been the first.
Maybe.
She might have been the first.
She's friends with this cop who's kind of a psychopath.
He's like so there's two cops, the tall one and the short one.
Yeah.
The short one is originally, seems like he's interested in her. Maybe there's some sort of
he
romantic
definitely
thing
is
happening.
But it's written
then
off like instantly.
It's it's just thrown aside. And then you also realize how short he is, and that could never possibly work.
Oh,
she's significantly taller than him, and that'll never pan
But he's
out.
kind of a lunatic cop.
He's played like he's the good cop, but then he starts spewing a lot of like alarmist stuff
about like terrorists.
And then like militarizing the police force. And the other cop's like, "Whoa, man!"
He's like, "This is a small town. We don't have to worry about any of that.
We don't need to get into this."
And this is where we draw the beautiful parallel the writer has drawn between the two sets of cops, because they say we're not actually cops. The normal cop says we're not cops, we're peacekeepers.
Yeah.
And then Abraxas says we're not as so much cops as we are peacekeepers.
It's beautiful.
So you really, it doesn't go anywhere though. There's
And the best thing about stuff like that is that you're always supposed to tell and not show. That's the most effective
Well, how
way.
are you going to get it if it's not in a voiceover or a character saying it?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Secundus arrives in town and uses the city's registrar's office to find the address, Sonia's address, to figure out where she lives.
Again, very similar to Terminator.
Very similar. He takes a woman hostage by just grabbing her.
Yeah, he grabs her by the neck.
By the neck.
Well, first he has her in like two hands on either side of her head.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'll crush her if you come any closer."
Because Abraxas immediately, he's
there.
Secundus is going to go to the registrar's office. That much I know.
Where else would you go?
And so Abraxas is there, but is terrified to do anything.
Oh yeah, he's standing in the corner, like shaking.
Even when the cops also join the fray, have their weapons drawn, and they can take a shot, Abraxas says, "Don't do it.
Yeah,
you don't know what'll happen." Except that they could have just shot him. So then they end up giving Secundus the guns.
Yeah,
and he just wrecks the place up.
Yeah, he destroys it. He runs out. He starts firing his little pistol around. He gives the woman a little like bonk on the
unnecessarily.
head.
It doesn't knock her out.
She's not doing it.
Just reminds her that he's there.
It's not even like a hard hit.
No,
it's pretty like, dude.
Yeah.
It's almost like a cute. He's like, get out of here.
Yeah.
You know?
Steals a motorcycle.
Well, he blasts a guy. The guy's like 4 feet from him. He pops him point blank. But then there's no need to shoot the man, because as he rolls by, he just picks him up, takes him off the motorcycle, and drives away. But why'd he kill the guy? Why'd he shoot him?
You're wondering what could be so important about this colmator?
Yeah.
That you cause such chaos.
Well, it turns out he has one of the greatest powers in the universe.
Yeah. Bullied on the playground, we discover quickly that when you mess with the colmator, you mess with the anti-life equation. And what does that mean, Patrick?
It means making people piss their pants.
That's right. Yeah. What did I write here? Colmator gets bullied at school, but uses the full extent of power provided to him by the anti-life equation. He makes the bully piss his pants. And then I said, a trend of 80s and 90s movies where it's rational to assume someone else is responsible for you pissing your own pants.
Yeah. So he like the other, like the bully's friend or whatever, is like, "Oh, Tommy made you piss your pants."
That's not how it works.
No. How would this kid get there? Like, yeah, that is what happened, but how did this third party kid arrive at that conclusion? Even the bully shouldn't have any concept that that's what happened.
No,
because no one can do that.
the bully confronts him later in the bathroom. He's like, "You made me piss my pants." I'm like, I don't think that's how it works, bud.
Yeah.
Either way, we get to see, we're like, oh, he has special powers and he's slowly learning how to use them. Then a bunch of BS happens with the mom. We do like the switcheroo. Again, it's Terminator, where Sonia takes her kid home to her house, but it turns out that for some reason, a whole nother woman and her son is going to be living there that day.
I think they might be roommates or something.
Maybe they're roommates.
Maybe they're in like a woman's home.
Something.
For single mothers. Yeah.
And so we find that out, and then quickly they leave. So that makes it very convenient when Secundus shows up.
He grabs the boy. Well, first of all, he breaks through their like balsa wood door.
Yeah.
Which, like, winter in New York, there's no insulation in that door. He just cracks right through it, grabs the kid, and is like, I'm going to kill this kid. And he tries to. Like, he grabs him and is like, scan for anti-life equation.
Because if you don't have the anti-life equation, you discorporate.
Yeah, you discorporate.
Yeah. He's disappointed to discover that the kid doesn't have the he goes, scans him, he goes, no anti-life equation, and he goes, screw it, discorporate him.
Yeah. The computer tells him, like, this is not the culminator. And he's like, scan anyway.
Yeah, pop him.
Why?
Luckily, there's a window right next to that open door that Abraxas can jump through.
Yeah.
And they get into a fight. I wrote here, Abraxas again proves utterly incapable of stopping Secundus.
He gets stabbed with a lamp. Secundus takes a lamp, breaks it over his knee, stabs Abraxas in the like kidney. It's another kidney shot.
Yep.
Which they make it so clear that they go through this incredibly painful. They have plasteel bones, right? Is that what it is?
Yep.
Plasteel?
Plasteel.
They have plasteel bones. They're essentially invulnerable. They regenerate from wounds very quickly. But Abraxas is totally incapacitated by being stabbed with this lamp.
Yeah.
He falls down. He's like, oh God, I'm going to die. And he once he stands up and takes the lamp out, instantly healed. This computer's like, you're done healing.
We healed you up.
But totally incapacitated by it the first time. The most interesting part about this scene to me is Abraxas comes in the second he is Secundus is distracted. The mother of this child, who is still like, I think being like held by Secundus, she pieces out.
She's gone.
She blasts out the front door and is like, son, run, get out of there.
She's like, run.
No. Go get your fucking kid. What are you doing, you psycho?
Well, again, it's the writing of this film that makes it so powerful. As we saw the parallels between the police officers and the finders, the difference there. This is a mother who has a son she doesn't love.
Yes.
That was born through natural causes. And you have Sonia, who couldn't imagine not having her son when it was given to her by Secundus laying his hands upon her.
Somehow.
So Secundus, I think, just gets confused and says, well, I guess I should regroup to try and figure out how to find this kid, because that was my final lead.
I actually wrote this down. In that scene where the computer's like, this is not the culminator, Secundus says, it must be the culminator.
I do.
The computer just told you it's not the culminator, sorry.
You can't trust,
Sorry, back to what you were saying.
No, Secundus just leaves.
Yeah.
Abraxas just, I lost him. Everyone just kind of throws up their hands, and it isn't until Sonia arrives with Tommy back from, I think, the movies, that she finds Abraxas standing there with the lamp still in his body. Immediately goes, you were the guy from that night where I got this baby put in me, and you didn't kill me. And she punches him.
It goes, ow,
breaks her hand. He goes, plasteel, or whatever.
It's plasteel.
And so she's like, I need some answers. So he kind of gives her vague answers about what he does,
nonsense
and stuff.
Lore of this movie.
He saves most of it because he's like, let's get out. Do you know some? He's basically saying, can you hide me? To her.
He's begging for her help.
Protect me. So she's like, I know someone down the street sells organic apples. And we could go stay with him, I guess. So he's like, please take me.
We have to go now.
And so they take the kid and they go. And then at some point along the way, Abraxas tells the kid that he's important. That he might not understand what's happening to him, but there's a part of him that is powerful.
He's the culminator. He's an alien, whatever.
But more importantly, the woman goes to take a shower She's very grateful
yeah,
to
yeah.
Abraxas.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to go take a shower. Abraxas goes, well, I'm going to go wash my hands and take a peek of that.
Yeah, and he does.
And he does.
And she's into it.
And she kind of shows him.
Yeah.
But then I wrote, what did I write here? Abraxas walks in on Sonia showering and almost passes out.
Yeah.
He reacts the same way an 8-year-old would finding like a Playboy magazine just
We're like, you don't even know that that's what you're into yet.
Yeah.
But there's like a seed of it buried somewhere deep down. Yeah, it's which he's a virgin.
Clear, yeah,
We find out.
He admits that by being a finder, you have to give up. You have to prioritize being a finder over everything else.
Yeah.
And his watch constantly reminds him.
Yeah.
Stop getting boners, Abraxas. You
Mhm.
can't act on this, Abraxas. And he's like, shut up.
Stop talking, which it doesn't do.
It doesn't. It doesn't care. And so they have a little moment. It looks like there's some romantic things happening.
Despite there being no chemistry.
Yeah.
Zero chemistry.
Flip side, Secunda says, well, maybe the kid that I'm looking for is at a strip club.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so he goes up to some like couple and is like, where are your breeding?
Yeah, I'm looking for some breeding women. Maybe he's thinking I'm going to try it again.
I think he thinks that because he impregnated a breeding member of the human race, if he just finds another breeding member of the human race, it might be the mom.
All right.
Oh,
maybe.
no, that doesn't make any sense though either. Yeah, it must
I don't
be
know
that he's
what
going to
he's
try again, I
mean,
guess.
in his defense, it cuts to him and he's just somberly walking down the street like, I'm never going to find my Colmater.
He has so many chances.
Yeah.
To just it takes 2 minutes to make a Colmater.
But 5 years to grow.
Is that it? I thought
into
he was
its potential.
I thought it was because he was just imprisoned for 5 years.
Well, but that's the culmination of the powers.
It takes
What's he
5
going to do?
years.
Raise a kid? He can't do that.
Yeah. So anyway, he does.
He ends up at a
Go
strip
to
club.
a strip
And I guess
club.
that's where there was apparently
A boob
nudity
scene.
in the rated R version that they cut. We were wondering why he went there or what was going on. He has a moment where he just looks at a stripper. They just look back, nothing.
Yeah.
He fights a couple guys and then just leaves.
He tries to grab someone's butt.
But this is when the movie really starts to kick into high
Ooh,
gear.
it does it.
Yawning?
Yawning.
Because they Secundus says enough of this BS. He's walking down the street. The cops spot him.
Yeah.
One of them pulls out an Uzi. He specifically says, your weapons won't work on me. And then the cop
like,
says,
"How
what
about
about
this?"
this one? Pulls an Uzi out, shoots him. You think Secundus is down, but no, it was a ploy to get close enough to steal the Uzi.
And then just sprays.
Sprays it all.
Neighborhood, like,
Chaos.
whole neighborhood, the houses, like the second story of homes, cars, everything. No one, I don't think, is hurt, but Mag dumps
Yeah.
the Uzi and then just is like, what an interesting weapon, but not useful to me.
But he gets an idea. He said, what if I go to a school and I just hold a whole classroom full of kids hostage?
Yes, he does.
Which was something that you would put in a movie in 1991.
Yeah.
And just basically does that. He goes to a school, finds a random classroom, grabs the teacher, says, bring me the Colmater or I'll start killing these kids.
Yeah.
I don't know how anyone is supposed to logically react to it, but lucky for us,
Who knows what a Colmater is?
no one knows.
Yeah.
But lucky for us, Abraxas happens to be driving by with Colmater and then pulls up to the school.
Yep.
And he has some sort of plan to use the kid to lure out Secundus, which he does, just so he can hit him over the head with a fire extinguisher.
Yep.
But Secundus quickly gets the better of him.
Very easily.
And now we've lost everything
Abraxas
because
is
now we lost the kid.
Horrible fighter.
We lost Secundus
Yeah.
and they're gone. Abraxas doesn't know what to do necessarily.
There's two moments that we brushed past that I really want to talk about very quickly. One is Jesse Ventura's hand meditation when he's trying to cool off after seeing a nude woman.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to tell, but it's like if you were to do the live long and prosper thing and then put your middle and
Like almost
index to your like
forehead, then
forehead,
temple
and
kind
then
of.
the other two
Yeah.
on like your cheek or
Yeah,
something. And he's like just trying to get less horny.
Don't get a boner.
And then the other one is at one point, this is inconsequential because he basically runs 20 feet away. Tommy, the Culmater gets out and leaves a note that's to his mom that says, "I love you and I think Abraxas too."
Yeah, all right.
This is
right.
after Abraxas tells him a story shirtless in bed.
He's like, come sit on this bed, and he's like, you could cause the end of the world.
Yeah. And it's Jesse like so wooden and rigid, shirtless in a small bed.
Yeah,
he takes up the entire bed telling this story to Tommy. The
Again,
Culmater.
he's supposed to be the defender in this situation.
Yeah.
And they're like, can you get you some blankets, Abraxas, or whatever? Also, there's after Secundus overpowers him at the school and runs away with Tommy, there's a random voiceover from Abraxas.
Yeah.
Where he ponders what might have happened with these powers.
I don't know.
There's a lot to unpack, and we're almost done.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna have a literally explosive climax in a random warehouse,
Empty,
somewhere,
or like abandoned part of the school, maybe.
I think it was a different building altogether.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
But we'll be back right after another break.
When Tommy runs into the school, it looks like he's running away from the school.
Right. Yeah.
Because this whole movie is shot so weird. It breaks the like 180-degree rule constantly. And in this case, it's maybe it's that is what it's doing or something.
Know
but
the
like,
rules to break the rules.
it really looks like they are looking into the school, and he runs the other way, but then he's in the school. It was so confusing because
Jarring.
Abraxas takes off after, or no, the mom takes off after him. The cop tackles her to the ground.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't do it. And I'm like, he's running away. What?
Yeah, no one
who
knows.
cares?
But
then he goes into the school, and it's like, oh, that's what was happening.
Yeah. Well, we find out that now that Secundus has Tommy, the Culmater, he needs to antagonize him enough.
Yeah, he has to get
to
him upset.
draw out his powers.
Yeah.
So he takes him to an empty warehouse and just basically like he just scares him, keeps scaring him,
he's
and
chasing
just walking
him
at him.
around.
And that's when we hear, "Look in my eyes.
Oh, yeah.
See me as I really am." We hear the beautiful lyrics of "Strong as I Am" by the Prime Movers.
You gotta look it up. It's gotta be on, I'm sure it's on YouTube.
It's a great song. If you've seen the film Manhunter, that's what it's from.
Is it from that? Okay.
It's
'cause
from that.
You found like a fan cam.
Apparently, it's when it's the song that plays when he becomes the Red Dragon in Manhunter. And that is what it is synonymous with. So the fact that it appears here is equally strange as it is perfect.
All right.
But the Culmater's powers begin to develop. The warehouse starts exploding in pyrotechnics we haven't seen since the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
And
It's Tommy with his mind like freaking out and blowing stuff up.
He's
basically.
popping
He's
things
losing
up.
it, yeah.
And so
sorry, he's bubbling like a pot of Sargation oil.
right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh God. But not surprisingly, Abraxas shows up, gets into a fight with Secundus,
Yeah.
almost immediately overpowered.
It's not hard to overpower this.
Yeah.
He's really
He's
bad
not
at
good.
his job.
He's
yeah.
not good at it, but
He's
either
also
way.
distracted because he just got a little kiss for the first time in his life.
Oh, right. He's thinking about
Yeah.
he's fighting off an erection.
Yep.
But at some point, I think it's hard to tell because everything is just cuts.
Yeah.
And it's just shots of random explosions and then cuts, and then it shows Tommy and he's watching them fight, and then there's an explosion, and then it just shows the two of them go out a window.
Kind of. It's like a very close, like you see bodies move
Something
out
goes
some
through
glass.
a window, yeah. And then you hear more VO from Abraxas.
Yep.
Going like, "In that moment, I didn't know if he was gonna pop my skull or help me up or whatever."
Because the Culmater, this kid is like looking down at him and like pointing a finger, but again, the film is so blurry.
Yeah.
It's so blurry. It's so degraded. Like it looks like it was taken off a VHS, which I think it was probably. You can't tell if he's holding out his hand or a finger. Like
Don't know what's
eventually I figured out he's pointing a finger. Then the mom shows up.
He climbs back up.
And he just climbs
There's
back
also,
up.
it's
Yeah.
not like we've seen the kid become evil.
No,
And we don't even know if that's a
not at
part of
all.
it.
Yeah.
Does the Culmater become evil? Does he have like a natural instinct to destroy the universe?
We don't know.
We don't know.
No
so
idea.
It's weird that he would have thought that at that point in time.
Yeah, I didn't know if he would pop my head.
But luckily, the
They're also
VO
like,
gave it to us.
if he falls, he's fine. They've been over this so many times. These guys are basically invulnerable.
Yeah. He's
But
plasteel.
so worried about falling one story.
into the snow.
A fall I could survive
Yeah.
probably without any broken bones.
No, you'd be
Like,
fine.
Yeah.
You'd be perfectly fine. But that was almost the end for Abraxas.
Yeah.
But he's climbed up and they're like, thank God everyone's okay.
Yeah.
And you and I are going, what happened to Secundus?
Yeah, because we're remembering these guys are invincible.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Where'd he go?
He's around and fine.
Yeah.
He's really close.
Well, we quickly find out when Secundus bursts in again from
Yeah.
somewhere and they fight again.
Well,
but
he slams a screen door in between them.
right.
As like that's gonna stop, and then
Yeah.
I think Abraxas just opens it.
Yeah. Abraxas, they fight again for a little bit. Abraxas finally, first time in the film, manages to overpower Secundus.
After getting the shit kicked out, he gets
Yeah.
beat up bad.
Yeah. It's a fluke.
Yeah,
It was
and
an
then-
accident.
and by some twist of luck, he does manage to overpower.
And
him.
he's choking Secundus out. And that's when
Yeah.
we hear from the command central or
Mhm.
whatever that the new rule just being introduced that no finders cannot be killed.
killed. Yeah, you can't kill a finder.
If someone's been a finder, ever a finder,
Yeah.
it's like tenure.
Yeah.
You
it
can't
never
be
goes
killed.
away. Yeah,
So he's not allowed to kill him.
yeah.
And that's just, and they're like, you can't do it. And his watch is saying you can't do it. Everyone's reminding him that he can't do it.
Mhm.
So then he says, fine, I won't kill him.
Yep.
So he discorporates him.
Yes, which is the same as killing. He tells the watch to scan for culmator tendencies or whatever,
Yeah.
and the watch is like, he's not a culmator. We'll discorporate. He's like, scan anyway.
Yeah.
And
And
then
so he discorporates him.
he scans him. A fireball appears in his head. Oh, at one point, there's like a fireball in the kid's face.
Yeah.
While they're driving, it's like,
There's just flashes of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like the no fate but what you make.
yeah.
And so that ends Secundus. He has now been discorporated and there's nothing left except a fiery warehouse.
Yeah.
Cops are outside waiting.
There's a good moment in this where the crazy cop is pointing. He's got like some kind of assault rifle that he's gotten hold of, and he's pointing it at Secundus. But right in between the cop and Secundus is Sonia and her kid. So he just has the gun pointed at the back of her head.
Yeah. No one's going anywhere.
Finger on the trigger.
And then we find out that that's mission accomplished.
Yeah, they did it.
There's some brief discussion about what to do with the boy. He's still a threat.
Yeah, I think they want Abraxas to maybe kill him, but he's like, I won't kill an innocent no matter what.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
And so they say, all right, well, we're going to assign someone to keep an eye on
No,
the
he
kid.
suggests it because he realizes that it might be cool to have sex. He got a little taste, and he's like, I want more.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a virgin. I want this woman to take my maidenhead.
Which is still against the rules.
He doesn't know how it works.
It's against the rules of his thing.
So I think he's like retiring too.
It's strange. Because there's a back and forth conversation with the other entities in the spaceship or command center.
They're
like, that's not allowed. And he goes, it better be. And they go, we'll ask.
Yeah.
And then in that scene, they're like, it's allowed.
It's fine.
But you don't see
Stay.
who they talk to
Stick
or
around.
anything. So basically the decision is that he is allowed to stay and now he
get
has
laid.
a family.
Yeah, he's got an immediate family.
I can only assume that it ends in divorce.
Yes. I mean, he murdered the boy's father.
And the way he talks to the watch.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like he's looking for a partner.
No, he
It
is
looks
saying,
like he's looking,
shut up.
Yeah,
to the watch. Yeah.
his tone
Yeah.
is not great. And the credits roll, and we kept waiting for that song to come back on. Didn't come back on. So all we got was more melancholy jazz.
Yeah.
And that is Abraxas.
The parts that I could see, it's all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It was a strange. It's so low budget and is truly pretty boring in a lot of parts, but it's not a slog. It wasn't like, oh my God, I want this to be over. It was, I don't know.
No, yeah. My thoughts were, we talked about it in the Munchie episode, how we were watching it and we were like, oh my God, like, where is this going? And then you were like, there's only 20 minutes left. And we're like, there's only 20 minutes. This was the opposite.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of front loaded stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, this must be ending soon. And then I saw, oh, wait. No,
Yeah.
they were only about halfway through this movie.
Yeah,
And there's,
yeah.
why are they going away from each other? Why are they separating?
Yeah.
Why is he at a strip club? So there's a lot of filler in the second half of this movie. But ultimately, we have to ask the question, do you recommend this film?
I'm like either or on this one, I think. I think you can watch it if you want, but you don't have to. If you're a fan of Jesse and want to see him in one of his only starring roles, I think check it out.
Yeah.
It's not a total waste of time or anything. I would say the biggest hurdle to watching this is the quality is so bad.
On Freevee?
No, anywhere. This is not Freevee's fault. This movie was not restored at any point, nor will it be.
Well, public domain, anyone could do it.
Yeah. It looks like it was shot on VHS, mass produced on VHS, copied a few times, then digitized, and then like uploaded it with a very low bit rate. It's really tough to figure out what's happening in a lot of this movie, especially the opening sequence. There was a moment where it was like an exterior scene and it was just black.
We thought it was just a low lit interior of a car, and it wasn't until like headlights got close that we're like, oh, we're outside of a car.
Like actually impossible to see what's happening in this movie.
Yeah. Well, all those things considered, yes, I recommend.
Okay. Yeah.
100% recommend this film. You absolutely should watch it. We do this on every episode of the podcast.
You gonna do a physique critique?
Physique critique.
What do we got? This is actually, I mean, you can't do no better than this. There's really only one shirtless.
And it's him sitting in a bed under a quilt.
Very weird. Yeah. A quilt that's like up to his nipples.
Yeah. But the chest development is there. They don't call him the body for nothing.
No.
And also underneath the clothes that they put Sven in, Secundus, he's filling out quite nice.
Yeah. Yeah. He is not, there is not any free room in that clothing.
I would definitely say on a scale of 1 to 10, overall the physiques in this, hard to tell because they're mostly covered, but I have my inclinations. We're looking at probably a 7.5 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah.
What's a 10? Because it's important that people understand the
A 10
scale.
would be like Commando, where it's a jack dude
Arnold
who's
in Commando.
It's like a jack dude who's showing his jack the whole time.
And a 1 is Munchie.
Yeah, 1 is Munchie, where your body is literally decomposing in front of my eyes.
Where my body feels revulsion.
Yeah.
Where fight or flight is kicked in when you see it. Yeah.
But either way, we watched this movie, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Trash for Trash. Abraxas, guardian of the universe, who is now retired. We have
presumably getting laid all the time.
Probably not.
Not with that woman, because he left her real fast.
Yeah. And he's back at the strip club.
Yeah.
Patrick.
Yes.
What are we doing for the next Trash for Trash if people want to watch at home?
Yeah, up next, Sci Fighter. It's a Don the Dragon Wilson classic, also starring Cynthia Rothrock and Lorenzo Lamas, who, if you're fans of this genre, you should be very familiar with.
Yep.
It's incredible. Me and my friends used to get high and rent it from Hollywood Video.
Ooh.
I think it was Hollywood Video, might have been Blockbuster. Also known as Extreme Fighter. So if you do want to watch along, look up both titles because it is a 2-titled movie.
Good to know.
I think it's 99 cents to rent on Amazon. And if you want to watch Abraxas, it is available for free on Freevee.
And Tubi, I think.
And Tubi, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time with Sci Fighter. And it's going to be a blast. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
I'm gonna rise to the top.